The journey back to the shack goes by in a blur, and by the time you're home you don't even remember it. That seemed oddly short. We probably picked the one we shouldn't have picked, because if we stayed there we get more action or something. After the blinding whiteness of the lab, the darkness of the shack feels comforting and safe. You sit on the edge of the bed, hunched over with the weight of this incredibly long day. Whew, boy. Trash finishes storing the bag full of grapes. God, you'd almost forgotten about those, in a cupboard before stretching and ripping off his goggles. He looks tired, but more than that, he looks concerned? Grave. So, he gestures to the spot beside you on the bed. Can I sit? It's your bed. He settles beside you, close but not quite touching. The music is a bit peculiar. It's like he's about to tell me something he shouldn't. So, listen, we've kind of been avoiding this subject for the past couple of weeks. I think I know where you're going with this, and you could not fuck off further. And I respect a girl's right to privacy and all that, but I really think now's the time to just put all your cards on the table. Okay, that's not what I thought you were going to say. David, what is going on? He's right, all of this is too much to carry alone. It would be ridiculous not to tell him. You take a deep breath, open your mouth, and you tell him. You explain everything you know, everything you think you know, and everything else that still doesn't make sense. Somewhat surprisingly, Trash listens to it all. Fuck. Lenny doesn't listen to it all. Lenny does, whatever. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't call you crazy or patronise you, he just listens until you're finished. Then he calls us mental. Afterwards, you both sit in silence, your voice feels a little raw, and Lenny seems to be having trouble finding his. Several long minutes later, you feel the bed dip as he shifts a little, turning his body ever so slightly away from you. You're not sure if it's a rejection or if he just needs a little privacy to work through what to say. Eventually, he clears his throat and begins. When I was born, he swallows and starts again. When I was born, everyone treated me like I was something special. Mummy used to say it was because I was a miracle. Quietly listen. I don't want to interrupt this. You don't say a word, waiting for the next part of the story. I was a healthy baby. Maybe that doesn't sound much to you, but to us, to my community, it was a huge deal. When I was growing up, I didn't have any friends to play with. My whole life, I was the only kid I knew. Sometimes there were babies, but they never lasted long. Grandpa said it was something to do with the red cloud, like it can sniff out any weakness you got in you and just latch on. And he turns to face you. So what I'm saying is, if someone from before knew what was going to happen, and was going to hand-pick the people to protect, they'd probably pick someone like you, I guess. God, you really are from before, aren't you? Before the bombs fell. The bombs? You've mentioned that before. Oh, I don't really know that much about it at all. Only what my grandpa told me. Happened a long time ago. Have they put a time frame on it? Oh, I can never remember. He was from back then too, you see. I think he was already like 50 years old when everything went to hell. Oh, okay, so it is. It is more recent than I thought. So he was pretty much the oldest person I ever met, and everyone would come to him for stories about how things used to be. He told us it was the largest terror attack ever conceived, those were his exact words, and the bombs were dropped all over the world. Total annihilation. The music is still odd. The music is curious, if you know what I mean. It's like I shouldn't be believing everything he tells me. I'm just going to put that out there now. The bombs were dropped all over the world. Total annihilation. You sit frozen, trying to digest that information. But then Billy always said that the terrorist thing was a lie the government told us. That they were the ones who did it. He shrugs. There's conspiracy theory here. But I also knew this chick who used to say it was aliens, so your guess is as good as mine, really. Can all this really be real? I'm really a relic? Well, if you were part of some government project, it didn't work out as planned, did it? I mean, that was a lot of dead bodies back there. The pamphlet said we were supposed to wake up a few hundred years after the whatever happened. 100? Nah, it ain't even been 40, man. Like I said, my grandpa was an old world man. Yeah. if this is all really true, if the Easter Initiative really did put you into stasis to sleep through the end of the world, then it only brings up more questions. Why did you wake up so early? Why did none of the other participants survive? And where were the project runners, the lab techs, the ones who would have helped make sense of everything? And why you? Why are you the only one alive now? I did wonder that myself. Like, everyone looked as done as a chicken nugget. There was no life in them, nothing natural at all. I lived though. Even if I was, you know, naked and my throat was burning and pins in me and bleeding everywhere. Other than that though, I was fine. Hey David. I hope you're not beating yourself up about this now. You think about the lab with rooms full of dead bodies buried deep in the rock, and the fact that you alone made it out. The truth is you feel relieved, guilty, resentful. How do I feel? Guilty's a terrible read. I don't know why I'd feel guilty. You'd have to be the weirdest, most blame yourself person in the world to feel guilty about a situation like this. When I was being told about all of this, I thought my character would feel resentful. However, I don't think that's the best thing to put. I might just put relieved, because it more fits in with what she's been doing. More than anything, you feel relieved. As you're trying to decide whether or not to tell Trash the truth of how you're feeling, sorry. You look over and catch his eyes and suddenly you're exposed. In an instant, he's read everything from your face, before you even had a chance to try and mask it. He looks down for a moment and lets out a long sigh. When his eyes meet yours again, they're hard and piercing. You know, I feel like we've got to know each other a little better these past few weeks. I've certainly got to know you, anyway. You've got so many sides to you, sides I ain't even seen yet. I'm like a dodecahedron, motherfucker. You're a person, David, just like they were. So don't ever think that feeling happy you survived makes you a bad person, okay? Whoa. That's not what I was thinking at all. I was genuinely thinking that, oh, well, I mean, I survived. I got through. I'm not dead. I'm like one of God knows how many. Whatever. You want my opinion? It's kind of too late to say no. Good point. I think you were lucky. And we should both be kissing the ground in gratitude. We should both be happy to be alive in a world that's trying so hard to kill us. For the first time in his tirade, Trash falters, he swallows hard. I have to keep you alive. Because your being here means I'm twice as lucky as before. So hang on to that positive attitude. Whoa, again, Englishman here. I'm a pessimist optimist. I look at the best, but I look at the best because I know everything's shit. Once you know everything's shit, it's much easier to look at life and such. Optimist, pessimist. So I will have a positive attitude, just not in the way you're thinking, sunshine. The ones that are dead, we can't help them now. All we can do is make sure not to disrespect them by throwing away the chance at life they don't have. When you feel up to it, we can go back to the bunker, keep looking for answers. Well, you can look for answers, I'll be looking for the power source for those lights. Don't you think it'd be put better use in here? Anyway, get some sleep, it's been a rough day and tomorrow is business as usual, got it? You coming with me to go bring the water drum back? Got it. Lenny? I've probably said Trash so many times. Lenny gets to his feet and starts slipping out of his boots. You set about getting ready for bed yourself. Oh, and Lenny? Okay, well, at least I have you. I'm not going to say that. Your preaching is not appreciated. That's me being a dick. I'm glad this game has a middle option. I just want to put that out there. Good night. Lenny hesitates, like maybe he wants to say something more. Yeah, good night. That night you dream of a white hellscape and wire-riddled corpses. Oh, good. A pleasant dream, was it? Was I leaping through seeing them all with unicorns? Probably not. Cabin fever. Oh, it's light again. Do you know how it's day and light again? It's because they've taken the dark filter. Woo! Days pass one by one, and Trash doesn't mention returning to the lab even once. You know he's waiting for you to be ready, and since you haven't brought it up either, you must not yet be ready. Oh god, I hate people who do that. Well, I mean, like, you haven't said anything, so therefore, like, you must not want to do... That's not how life works! If two people do that, then you're just waiting for the other one to say so. God, whatever. Things are actually starting to get comfortable, or as comfortable as possible, considering the circumstances. Well, okay, there was that one time when you thought you'd give yourself a hand bath while Trash was scabbing alone, and he ended up coming home early and walking in on you, wet and topless by the water barrel. Okay, so you screamed and fell over to trying to hide yourself, threw a can of peaches at his head, stood and stared him down until he ran out. This game is really giving me so many options to like Trash. It's a little silly. The flag system in this game must be mental. Screamed and fell over trying to hide yourself. That's not what I do. Threw a can of peaches at his head. That's wasting food. Stood and stared at him. No. Oh, God's sake, fine. We'll do the stereotypical I'm a woman. Also, again, colour against background. Very... Whatever. Screamed and fell trying to hide yourself. Okay, so you screamed and fell over trying to hide yourself behind a pile of boxes. The bruises healed, and so will your pride, eventually. And your teamwork is definitely getting better. There had been that pretty scary moment out on a scav run to what was once a supermarket. You hadn't even made it inside before Lenny held up a hand and pointed off in the distance. 3 mutants, still far away but shambling closer. It was like they noticed you at exactly the same time. Suddenly, all 3 of them were at a run. Lenny drew his gun and ordered you to get inside the building. You did as he said, ran, you grabbed him and dragged him with you, you refused and stood your ground with him. What one's worse? He couldn't shoot off one person, one mutant. He couldn't even do one mutant. We'll drag him with us. You did as he said, but not before grabbing him and dragging him with you. You both hid behind an aisle by the blown out window and waited, but the mutants never came. After a while, you both got up and checked outside. The mutants were nowhere to be found. Lenny said he didn't know what they'd seen, but it couldn't have been you guys. You got lucky. This morning, you wake to hear Lenny heading outside. His goggles are still lying on his bedroll, so he must be just going to scout a little before leaving. Get some breakfast. Stretching and straightening out your clothes, you get out of bed. Time for some breakfast. Suddenly the door slams open as Lenny comes running back inside. Scav's off. What's going on? He looks agitated, actually borderline pissed off. Go see for yourself, Dave. As soon as you open the door, you see it, the red cloud. Well, I mean, it's the most impressive bit of artwork this game's had to offer. Which isn't saying much. What is that? I mean... Granted, I mean, good. It doesn't just look like a cloud at dawn, but... I mean, it more looks like a fucking volcano erupting. Yeah, whatever. The sky always has that slight red tinge, but it's not so distant today. The cloud has closed in all around the shack. You can barely see anything out there now. You remember what Lenny told you all those weeks ago. You get caught in that smog, that's pretty much your ticket to mutanthood. Shutting the door before any of it can get in, you turn to Lenny. Should I be panicking? Somewhat comfortingly, he does look more annoyed than worried. I was going to say, in here, we appear to be fine. Like, if it was coming this way, and it could get in here, I imagine he'd tell us to just get everything and run. What I do worry about is the clear holes everywhere, because of, you know, the little bit of light here from the sun. Like here, 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 here. Do you get my point? It's not without holes. There's a sex joke in that I'm not going to use. It happens sometimes. A patch blows through and you just gotta sit tight and stay inside. We should probably seal up any cracks in here though, you know, just to be on the safe side. He doesn't need to tell you twice that both of you quickly get gathering blankets and odd pieces of wood and metal, anything you can stuff under a crack or use to seal up a hole. Once Lenny is satisfied you're safe, you both sit in silence, he on the floor, you on the bed. So what do we do now? Lenny shrugs and throws himself back on the bedroll, hands under his head. We wait, try to occupy ourselves. Don't! Whoa! Don't you go there! For how long? He doesn't answer. Lenny, for how long? Oh, I don't know, maybe just for the rest of the day. You're lying. Maybe longer. That's all you can get out of him. That's all we can get out of him. We're not going to try and ask or pursue that line of questioning at all. Maybe a bit later than the rest of today. Oh, okay then. Well, we'll be fine by tomorrow, he says, and we're still here in a week. Whatever.